Hello students and welcome to this explanation on traditional and ABC costing. I want us to look at this question called Tab it out manufacturers. It's question 1 and it's a total of 24 marks. It says there, Tab it out manufacturers limited is considering the implementation of activity-based costing systems. The entity currently manufactures 3 different products, tab, it and out. Their financial manager has provided you with the following information that relates to their overheads. So in the first block, you will find that they've given you an overhead type as well as a cost driver and a rand value of the overhead. So the setup costs, the cost driver for that is the number of setups, and it was a total of 150,000. Then there's some machine maintenance. Machine hours is the cost driver thereof, and it's 600,000. There's some store receiving. The requisitions raised is the cost driver thereof. It's a total of 100,000. Then there's quality control with quality inspection as cost driver and a total of 75,000. And then there's dispatch, which is the orders executed, and it is a total of 50,000 rand. If we scroll down slightly, they have also given you the cost driver per product. And they've given you the number of setups, 20, 60, and 70, number of batches, 50, 20, and 80. They've given you the machine hours per batch, which is 1,000, 2,000, and 500. There's some requisitions raised, which is 50,000, 90,000, and 60,000. Then there are some quality inspections, 180 and 45,000. Some orders executed, 110, 190, and 100. And then total units produced, which is then 5,000, 5,000, and 10,000. They say the financial manager is unsure how activity-based costing will affect the overheads per product, and you were approached to give some advice. In number 1, they ask you to assume that they apply traditional costing method, and you need to allocate the overheads based on the machine hours. Calculate the total overheads to be allocated to each product for a total of 7 marks. So now we need to use the machine hours. And it is interesting because they've given you the machine hours per batch. So you will have to go and do a calculation in order to get to the machine hours. All right. So for number 1, I will then first do my support calculation. And I have a tab, it, and out. And then I'm going to look at the batches as well as the machine hours per batch. And the information was given to me. So the batches, it seems, was 50. For it was 20, and it was 60 for out. Then the machine hours per batch was given as 1,000, 2,000, and 500. And then to get to the total machine hours, I will have to go and times the batches by the machine hours per batch. I will get then 50,000 for tab, 40,000 for it, and out will give me a total of 30,000, it would seem. Alright, in having done that calculation, I can now get to my total overheads, because for traditional costing, I need to have the total overheads with the total cost driver. While we're at it, we can also calculate the total cost driver here before we progress. And it would seem that the total machine hours for all 3 products was 120,000 machine hours. If I look at my actual overhead costs then, I have setup cost, I have machine maintenance, I also have a cost in terms of store receiving, it seems. Then I have a quality cost, and I have a dispatch cost. The total costs here will have to be added up. So I'm going to add up for the setup, there was 150,000. For the machine maintenance, there was 600,000. For the store receiving, there was 100,000. For quality, there was 75,000. And for dispatch, there was 50,000. If I get to the sum of all that, I see that my total overheads was then 975. So I've calculated the information that I need to do traditional costing. The total overheads together with the total cost driver. And now I can go and do a calculation for the overhead allocation per product. So again, we will have tab, we will have it, we will have out, and then we need to do our overheads. Just want to insert here a column for the calculation. Right. So I will have overheads here in totality because we don't work with separate overheads when we do traditional costing, and the overheads were 975,000. I'm going to divide that by the total of the 120,000 machine hours, and then I need to go in times based on the product that I'm calculating. So for tab, I'm going to times by 50,000. For it, I'm going to start with the same calculation, but I am going to times it by the 40,000 hours. And then for out, I'm also going to say the 975, but I'm going to divide it again by the 120, but times it by 30,000. So in doing these calculations, I will be able to see what the total overheads are. Again, I will times by the machine hours that are applicable to that product. And I will times lastly by out 30,000. And then we've allocated the total overhead. So please note that the question said for the calculations that we need to calculate the total overheads to be allocated. You will find in number 2 we have to do activity-based costing, and here we need to take it a step further because they say allocate the overheads but per unit for the product, tab, it and out. So no, they don't want it in total as in number 1, but rather per unit. So let's look at the calculations in terms of traditional costing, which is then number 2. So the calculations for ABC costing, I beg your pardon, requires for us to now do a calculation for each type of overhead that is incurred. So I usually encourage my students to do it in a block format so that they are able to understand that the calculation should be done for each type. So I'm just copying the types of overheads that we are working with. We will then need a column for the calculations, and then again we will have tab, it and out. So we need to start with the setup costs, and I believe the setup cost was 150,000. And we will have to divide there by the cost driver. So if I look at the question, they say for setup cost, the number of setups is the cost driver. And if I look at the number of setups, it is 60, 20, and 70, which should give you a total cost driver of 150. So I'm going to divide by 150. For the purpose of tab, I will times them by the 20. For the purpose of it, I will repeat this calculation, but I will times, it seems, by 60. And for out, I will again have 150,000 divided by 150, but I will have to times by 70. If I do the calculations, I will get to 20,000 for tab. I will get to 60,000 and I will get to for out 70,000. I need to move on to machine maintenance. In the question, the total of machine maintenance was given as 600,000, and we have already calculated the machine hours when traditional costing was calculated. So we're going to go back to traditional costing and we're going to use this calculation again to do the allocations. So we're going to take for machine maintenance the total overhead expense, 600,000. We're going to divide that by total machine hours of 120, and I'm going to times for tab by 50,000. Then for it, I will repeat the first part of the calculation, but I will have to times by 40,000 machine hours. And for out, just want to extend this. It's going to be 600,000 divided by 120,000, and I'm going to times by 30,000, it seems. Right, so for this, it's going to be then 600,000 divided by 120,000, and we're going to times it by 50,000 to get to 250. 600,000 divided by 120,000, we're going to times it by 40,000, and again 600,000 divided by 120 times 30,000, I believe. And there we have done our calculation for the machine maintenance. There's also some store receiving, and if I look at the question, the store receiving was 100,000 and the requisitions raised was the cost driver. So if I look at the requisitions raised, it would seem like there is 90 plus 50, which will give you 140, plus 60 should give you then 200,000 of the requisitions that were raised. So I go and look at the cost, and it is 100,000. So it's going to be 100,000 divided by 200,000 requisitions raised, and in the first instance, it seems that I have to times by 50,000. Then there's going to be 100,000 divided by 200,000 times 90,000 requisitions raised, and then there will be 100,000 divided by 200,000 and times by the 60,000 requisitions raised. So in this instance, 100 divided by 200,000 times 50,000 is going to be 100 divided by 200,000 times 90,000 and 100,000 divided by 200,000 times 60,000. Second last calculation we have to do is for the quality control, and the quality control cost driver is the inspections, and that was worth 75,000. We will have to add up then our quality checks. There was 100 plus 80 should give you 180, plus 45 should give you 225. So if I do that calculation, I'm going to say 75,000 divided by 225. In the first instance, I will times by 100. Then it will be 75,000 divided by 225, and I'm going to times by I beg your pardon, 80, and then 75,000 divided by 225, and I'm going to times by 45. Right, I'm going to do that calculation. 75,000 divided by 225 times 100. And please remember to round to 2 decimals because we are working with money and there is no monetary measure smaller than cents. Then 75,000 divided by 225 times 80. And then there is 75,000 divided by 225 times 45. We are on our last calculation, and that is for the dispatch. The dispatch is orders executed, and it was worth 50,000. In terms of the orders executed, there was 110, 190, and 100. So this should give you 100, 200, 300, 400 orders executed. So that will mean we take 50,000 divided by 400. In the first instance, we times by 110. Then 50,000 divided by 400. In the second instance, we will have to times by 190. And for out, it's going to be 50,000 divided by 400, and we're going to times that by 100. In doing that calculation, 50,000 divided by 400 times 110, 50,000 divided by 400 times 190, and then lastly it will be the 50,000 divided by the 400 times the 100. And then we have now done our ABC costing, and I need to get to a total. So if I add all of these up for each product, I'm going to get to total overheads. And please again remember to mind the rounding. And I get to 342,083,33. For it, I get 355416.67, and for out, I get 277,500. It is important to remember that they've asked in this calculation that you need to do a calculation per unit. So finally, we will have to go and divide by the units, which are 5,000, 5,000, and 10,000. So units is 5,000, 5,000, and 10,000. And there I will then say overheads per unit, and that will be my final total divided by the units that were given. Again, I need to mind the rounding because of course we only use 2 decimals for cents. And there we go. You will find that you have then 68.42 for tab, 71.08 for it, and out will be 27 Rand and 75 cents. Right, I hope that you have enjoyed this additional example. ABC costing, quite important for your purposes. So please make sure that you do go through the questions, and please do stop by my office if you should have any questions. But until then, I will then see you in class, and keep enjoying management accounting till I see you again. Goodbye.